Nobody else is on?
All right, welcome all to the St. Lawrence County Industrial Development Agency meeting. It's my pleasure to call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Staples. Mr. Labatt. Mr. McMahon.
Here.
Mr. Hall.
Here.
Mr. Morrow.
Here.
Mr. Reagan.
Here.
Mr. Blevins.
Remotely here.
Gotcha.
Public notice was sent out on February 22nd.
Correct.
And do we have any public comment? Mr. Gardner? Hearing none, we'll move on to the minutes of December 16th, 2022. I'll entertain a motion that we discuss them.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the approval of the minutes to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thanks.
The ayes have it.
Blank page.
What's that?
There's an extra blank page there. Wasteful.
I do right on that. I don't know why it is. There's some reason for that, but I don't know
That has come up before, I believe.
Noted.
What did you
We
say?
have a financial report.
You have October and November financials in your packet. If you go to page 4, page 3, that's your October highlight sheet. A few things to note is there were ARPA program expenses started in October. We had Cranberry Lake, 40,000, some small business awards for 10,000, and awards for the training for the Crest Center CDLA program. We also had your normal payroll and regular expenditures for the month. If anybody has specific questions, I will answer them.
Why didn't we have the December?
Why aren't December in here? You'll get December after the audit's completed and all finalized journal entries are posted. That's how we normally do it. If you want to see a preliminary one, just let me know.
Doesn't matter that much.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? I guess for clarification, we could say what ARPA stands for. Patrick, do you remember what that stands for?
Yeah, it's American Rescue Plan Act.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Do we need to approve that financial report?
We need a motion in a second too.
That's what we're looking for.
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion about the financial report? Hearing none, we'll call it to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The financial report's accepted. Report of committees. We have none on the agenda.
It's not on the agenda, but we did have an audit and finance committee meeting to kick off our audit. Mr. McMahon and I were here with the audit team and it's in progress. So we shall soon, think by the end of March, we'll have
End of March.
the audit completed.
Thank you, Mr. Hall.
You're welcome.
Staff report, Patrick. You have one ready?
Yes, we have a phase 3 request for proposals due tomorrow for the 100 Patterson Street facility. You're gonna have another meeting in March to accept the audits, and we'll have some other activity in March as well, including hopefully a recommendation from the RFP process. This is the ongoing next phase for the 100 Patterson Street facility. You'll recall we've replaced every roof except the roofs on the Quonset hut portion of the building, and there's the curved roof section in the 1946 area, as well as some electrical work, some tenant finishes, some site work that we knew we were going to have to do this year, outdoor parking, paving. We have it broken down into different How many numerous line items,
21 different line items, 3 different categories.
21 line items across 3 categories. The idea being we'll have flexibility, the bidders will have flexibility, hopefully, and then we can, as we're working on this phase, prioritize and we think we would be starting as early as this spring. And hopefully this phase would be done this year.
Yeah, a lot of the work that's on this list can be done in winter months. There's, a lot of it can get started as soon as it's approved, assuming it's approved.
So by doing it by line items, am I correct to assume that wanna do this à la carte, or that they do the work, that it would be one bidder who would do it piecemeal and you by having different line items?
We're hoping we get one general contractor to do it all, but it can be broken down into roofing, site work, and then general building work for tenant finishes, building.
Those are the
Yeah,
same
the
things.
idea is, there's some of the stuff that we just have no idea what kind of costs we're gonna be facing. So we didn't want to just lump it in. We want to be able to say, that doesn't make sense to do right now. Or we need to be able to find other people's money to accomplish that. So that this gives us that flexibility to get some of these improvements that are necessary for our tenants, necessary to secure the building further. But still doesn't slow us down from moving.
Thanks for the clarification. And we have, right now, we have one business in the building with how many jobs?
We have one tenant in there with about 15 jobs. And we are working with other prospects on an ongoing basis.
And how many square feet does that one business take?
Right now, they're in 8,000, but they have an option to take more,
8,000 out of 60.
72.
Thank you.
What's our option on how much?
Up to 38,000.
Their goal is to get to a little over 38,000, I think it is.
And some of this work completes the build out for some of the additional 30,000 that we'd like them to be able to move into. So for those who've been through the building, the 1912 space where all the windows are, there's flooring work that needs to be done. There's some ceiling work that needs to be done. Which identified some of the electrical stuff. This is purposefully written with this broad range of potential activities, because there's, as we become more familiar with the building, our capacity to fine tune our wish list has grown. And correspondingly, our wish list has grown. And then we're gonna see what the costs come in for the various things we'd like to do. Some things are more immediate priorities, more urgent in terms of where we think the next building rental space is coming from. Some are less so, but if the pricing is good, cosmetic makes it sound too trivial, but the outside brickwork on the back of the building, things like that, where if you've got a crew doing work and it's cost effective to have them complete certain things, we put all those certain things in the RFP process.
What kind of time frame are we looking at with the tenant? In terms of,
I think as the build out happens, the spatial expansion will happen with it.
Do we have maybe you don't want to answer this question, which I understand, but do we have a cost estimate? At least internally, that we're not,
We have ballpark ranges. We've
Okay.
been working with the architect on it for what we
Okay.
think is reasonable, but
right,
I certainly don't want to
no.
go to a Price is Right thing the day before the bids come in.
Understood.
So, we received a grant letter from Empire State Development for the Messina School of Business. I told you the $1.9 million grant we applied for to turn that into transitional space and a courtyard. We have the actual document from them that we're reviewing. It's the terms and conditions of the award. St. Lawrence Center Mall, we did a tour there a couple weeks ago. They're in the process of working to repurpose the facility for a range of uses, including warehousing, industrial. I think there's a opportunity for us to utilize that space and to work with the mall ownership to try and fill some of the former retail areas with more assembly, light manufacturing, warehousing kind of businesses. There's plenty of floor space there, and they are working to convert space from what is clearly retail or former retail to what is more mixed use and more speculative, removing ceiling tiles, making the ceilings higher, replacing lighting. I know they're doing a light replacement project with MED. So there's opportunity there. Last thing on properties, we are part of the Ogdensburg Correctional Facility Reuse Task Force that the county has put together, chaired by none other than Mr. Reagan. We've had a few meetings. We've done a site visit and tour of the correctional facility. Anything you'd want to add on?
We're bringing together various stakeholders, and Patrick and John Pickerdon are two of our key staff people to it, so and Ruth Doyle. So we will also be pushing in New York to see what their ideas are on but for the moment, we've been successful in getting the governor to agree to keep the lights on and the heat on. Because it's been our intention that as soon as they turn the heat off, the buildings, the whole complex will begin to deteriorate very quickly, and then it'll be useless, and then it'll fall apart. So we were successful at getting the governor to keep the heat on. Been my experience over the years that, well, I won't go into that, but we're grateful to the governor for working with us and keeping the heat on. And, my biggest concern at this point is, and I've told Empire Development this, that if they are serious about redeveloping the facility, I'm sorry.
You're putting that in the minutes.
If they're serious about redeveloping the facility, if they set a big price on it, then nothing will happen. We saw that when they put the psych center up for sale under Governor Pataki, they refused. No one bid, and OGS, the Office of General Services, has a tendency to assume that there's all these developers waiting in the wings to buy these facilities, and there are something like 7 empty correctional facilities in northern New York. And what has happened, I believe it was at Lion Mountain, or maybe it was Chateauguay. One of the facilities they sold to a Canadian developer who just came in, stripped all the copper, stripped everything that wasn't nailed down and had any value, and then walked away and left the mess for the taxpayers to deal with. And I made the point to Empire State Development. I said, you guys need to work with us to make sure that that does not happen. And the point he made was, well, that's what the community wanted at the time. It's like, no, they wanted the property redeveloped. not to have, this guy come in and strip, everything of value from the facility. So, it's always a challenge, and, but we're gonna give it our best shot.
Okay. Anything else, Patrick?
Yep, ARPA awards, you mentioned the American Rescue Plan Act earlier, and just notification, the heavy equipment operator training program that we had proposed in our ARPA recommendation to the county is starting today. That program at the Fowler BOCES Southwest Tech, there's about a dozen people participating. We've been working with BOCES, we've been working with the local one-stop career center, the Workforce Development Board, on helping get the registrations in, get the class rolling. The areas of note for this class are orientation to heavy equipment operation, heavy equipment safety, basic operational techniques, introduction to earth moving, grading, excavation math, site work, interpreting civil drawings, soils, and then backhoe and excavator competency. There is a nationally recognized credential certification that the attendees will be provided upon completion. When you look at, we have within the ARPA programs, we have new worker training, we have existing worker training, there's a healthcare training component, CDL program. This was something based on our conversations with employers and job seekers that identified as an area of need. So to have been able to identify the need, work with some of our partners, and have a fully put together class underway already is a pretty significant accomplishment. And again, we have really strong partners with BOCES and some of the others that I mentioned. So it's a positive development. It's one other avenue for trying to skill workers and give people exposure and hopefully help with career development.
Is that a nighttime class or is that
It is.
during the day?
It is.
Okay, so,
Yep, it's meant to be part of the adult offerings. There's a class tonight, tomorrow, Thursday, Saturday. It's a 16-week. It is an intense program where I think the attendees will learn quite a bit in that 16-week period. And it's the first class where, first one's always a learning experience for not just the attendees, but also the partners who put it together. Obviously, we plan to do more of these, and we've had funding support. We've been able to leverage money from the WIOA system and other funding providers. So we are fulfilling what we had pledged we would do with the money to the county when they allocated it to us.
You had 12 participants, how many positions do you have open?
12 is the cap.
Is an
Yeah, I think the goal was 7 to 8 to 12, and it's at 12 right now. And then I anticipate, first.
With others expressing interest.
Yeah, 12 registrants, we'll see. As the class goes on, but I think the critical number is like 7 or 8.
Okay, and then how much does it cost to participants?
$7,900. And that's ARPA's paying for the workforce system.
How much net does
It's fully funded.
okay,
And
probably
there's a range of ways it can be paid for. You can do self-pay, there can be employer contributions. The goal, at least with the first class, was to make it, to totally cover the cost.
Good.
And we've been able, like I said, we leveraged, I think the total, so I think we've $40,000 of ARPA funding. So if you do 12 times 7,900, it's about a third of the total cost that's being covered, or maybe a little higher than that. And what we're trying to do with CDLA, with any of these programs is let's not just replace the existing funding streams that are out there, let's leverage them. So if we can get WIOA money, which is the workforce development system, have them participate, match that. And it's what we've done with CDL right along. So the systems are there and it seems to be working. Business connections, I've talked to you, we've done 3 events at the individual BOCES centers. About a dozen businesses, sessions. Plan on doing it next year. We did January or December, January, February. Next year, I think we're gonna spread them out more seasonally. Do a fall, winter, spring, so they're not one right after the other. We have a business mixer. I think I provided everybody a handout. This is March 8th at the Best Western. This will be a panel of local businesses talking about workforce attraction, workforce retention, different techniques and ways that they are finding, hiring and keeping qualified employees. That we talk about training so much right now because that's continuing to be a challenge for everybody. There will be 3 or 4 businesses featured on the panel, and I will be the moderator, yes. So
Bill Donahue.
if that doesn't get you out to this event, nothing will. And maybe there'll be cookies too. The last thing, this is our public authorities reporting information system time of year. We mentioned the audit. Audits are due by the end of the month. All of our reports to New York State are due to the end of the month, by the end of the month. So we are working with, approximately 100 different projects to get the annual employment information, get their investment information, that then becomes part of the annual report that you review, that we have to provide by the end of March. That is it for your staff report.
Thank you very much. Very concise. In your package, you should find resolutions. The first being authorizing the amendments to the standard workday reporting. If you've all had a chance to read that, I'd entertain a motion to bring it to the floor. We have a first and a second, so any discussion on this?
We have to do this every year for the New York State local retirement system. You guys appoint Kim and I at your annual meeting as CEO and CFO, or CFO and CEO, which is more of just an annual appointment that you do with your other board positions. We had reported ourselves incorrectly on the appointed and elected officials form. They have 2 forms, one for appointed and elected officials, which, for example, a legislator would fill in, and then one for actual employees. We've talked with the retirement system. We've sent them this draft. This corrects that. It's one form with all the employee positions on it. So once you approve it, we'll send it to them and we'll post it.
I do have a question as to who in our staff is the clerk and what kind of seal we have.
The seal is we have a corporate seal, and the clerk in this case would probably be Kim, CFO. It could be the board, it could be the board secretary, but I think there's some flexibility there.
Okay. Any further questions? All in favor of accepting the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The resolution is passed. Second resolution on there, authorizing a commitment of funds for the Drum Country Business Regional Marketing Initiative. Again, I'd entertain a motion to bring it to the floor.
So. Second.
Without a motion, it'll save us $5,000.
We had a first by Mr. Morrell, a second by Mr. Reagan. This is as we've discussed before, and we've participated in this group, this is a Jefferson County, Lewis County, St. Lawrence County, the Development Authority of the North Country, the Fort Drum, and we combined to leverage funds primarily through National Grid, who's been a big supporter of this regional initiative. One of our challenges is people don't necessarily identify small communities and small rural counties. So there are ways to promote ourselves to both the outside world and within the region that hopefully enhance our ability to get recognized and ultimately to make progress. And the Drum Country region, the Drum Country Business Initiative is one way that we do that. As we've looked at the Coming Back Here initiatives, one of the things we've partnered with the other agencies on is finding ways to highlight the quality of life to get people to move back here. You may be from Canton and you move back to take a job in Watertown. You may be from Watertown and take a job up in St. Lawrence County. The whole regional identity is greater than sometimes just a county or a community identity. So this is a way for us to attach to something larger than ourselves that has the core of Fort Drum in the center of it, and also leverage some marketing funds through National Grid. So in the past 3 years, we've been able to leverage over $60,000 of National Grid promotional funding for different initiatives as the Drum Country region. And we recommend that we continue to do this.
Other than getting the 60,000, do you think it's been successful? Was there something tangible? we can point to?
Yeah, I mean,
People say,
with any of our marketing, rarely does somebody call us and say, hey, I just heard your ad, or I just read this, or I just, but, you know, the Drum Country website that's out there is a regional resource. This has been the vehicle for which we have developed our relationship with Fort Drum. So I mentioned the business mixer on March 8th. The way those business mixers work is we have businesses talk, we invite local businesses, and then we bring resource partners from the area to attend the meeting so the businesses can then meet with people one-on-one. As an example, there are people from the Fort Drum Transitional Services coming to that business resource mixer. So if someone's interested in how do I find a soldier or a family member who's affiliated with Fort Drum, who's, you know, retiring from the military or exiting the military, how do I connect with them for if I'm looking for workers? Our relationship has been built through this Drum Country initiative. So it's, you know, it's not always direct, but for what we spend and then what we can leverage and bring in return, I think that it's worth continuing.
Great.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution, say aye.
I,
Opposed, nay.
Lynn, I'm gonna abstain to
Okay.
avoid the appearance of a conflict because I'm on the Development Authority Board.
Please make a note of that. Of course, it is on the video anyways, but thank you for abstaining.
Yep.
Gotcha.
The resolution is passed. And we're on to the next resolution, authorizing allocations to the St. Lawrence County American Rescue Plan Act, Economic Development and Tourism Funding Program.
I think there are some discussions related to financial credit or employment history of particular corporations that would warrant an executive session before you vote on this.
Okay, we need someone to ask to go into executive session from the board.
I'll make that motion.
All right, we will clear the room and we will be in executive session.
does anybody need to leave?
The St. Lawrence County. Is that too fast?
We are back
Good to go,
in open session, Mr. Blevins.
Okay, we have a resolution coming to the floor authorizing allocations through the St. Lawrence County American Rescue Plan, Economic Development and Tourism Funding Program. Do I hear a motion?
So move.
Second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion further on that?
When you send the list of appropriations to the county legislature, I think the map was a big hit. And I think on the map have
ARPA.
ARPA map, have colors with past grants as well as the most recent ones, so that they see how many times we're hitting some of their communities and how we're hitting new communities, because that's what the legislators are looking at is, are we putting the money around? And we are. And this is a great, we're putting money into Louisville, Black Lake, Hammond, Waddington, Governor, Ogdensburg. And, we're, the goal from the beginning, and I'm now the chairman of the ARPA committee, was to get the money out into many communities. And, that's what my colleagues are gonna be looking to see is happening, and it is, so.
And this is the map the ARPA chairman is referencing. This
Yeah.
color, I'm gonna run out of colors if I have to go too many more with different rounds, but we'll figure out a way to do it. And it was a big hit.
It was a big hit, and, I think the spending an extra $10 to fill your color copier is well worth the investment. We got the IDA, the opportunity to give out how much money?
With all the different programs, about 3.5 million.
So $20 for $3.5 million, I think that's a good trade.
You just double that.
Excellent.
In seconds.
None of which we kept incidentally. That's all going out into the, but we will get more
We're
colors.
happy to provide
for
that
the map.
service.
And then that is with this exhibit A, is what you have just passed.
Okay.
So that's, did they vote?
Vote.
We have not voted on this yet, so we'll, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes
Great.
have it, resolution is passed. Patrick, do you have anything else?
I do not.
We already had our executive session.
Yep.
Entertain a motion to adjourn the IDA meeting.
So moved. Second.
Okay. Do you need any